This clip features extra footage from my first build video release named The Making of Oculus. If you haven't seen the build video for that project, there's a link in the description. You'll also find a link to the build video for a table lamp that was paired with that project I named Embryonic Glow. Alright, let's get started. Oculus was a project that was entirely experimental. The design was delivered to, then lifted from my imagination. My method of design is not without its issues. Sometimes a detail held within a vision is not well defined or misinterpreted as it makes the journey from my mind's eye into the physical realm. If you've watched the build video of Oculus, you may have noticed a detail or seven that I didn't cover, such as this one. In this video, I'll address some of those missing details. The front leg inlays of Oculus are the result of a vision, then experimentation and persistence. To get to the next step faster, if you could just give me a moment of your time, I'll storm my way through the sanding process and spare you a protracted sanding montage. Although I was confident in my abilities, the detail I had planned for the front legs was something I'd never done before. So in order to avoid disaster, I took appropriate steps and deployed what I believed to be the best approach to this situation. I used the hind legs as a laboratory to conduct my design experiment. The following sequence is an insight into a part of the process that led to the detail I finally settled on for the front legs. In order to display the best camera angles of the hind leg inlay, I'll be switching between footage that features both the left and the right legs. That's right, I miscalculated and I cut in a little too deep on this one, so I'm using 3mm MDF to pack up the ripple inlay to ensure the overlay finishes at my preferred height. If you're interested in seeing how I made these inserts, there's a link in the description to my first video named The Making of Oculus, which features the process I went through to make the front leg inlays. It was a good first attempt, but ultimately it was unacceptable, so I gave it another go. The second attempt was conducted on the front legs and I found the result to be far more satisfactory. Click. Yeah, that's nice. Using the template I made for the face of the draw fronts, I'm laying out the positions of those details. This is the back section of the draw front blank that I'm preparing to receive the same ripple effect that I used on the leg inlays. I'm setting it all out to ensure that the center point for my router guide is in a position that will be covered by the carved draw front overlay. This footage depicts the method I came up with to conceal the center pivot point hole used for my circle cutting router guide. The solution was as simple as boring out the hole by making a plunge cut depression using a 12.7mm radius core box cutter. However, before this epiphany, unknowingly at the time, I took a small detour that led me down an undefined and ultimately disappointing path. When I realised it was a dead end, I self-corrected, which allowed me to pick up a trail that led back to an appealing outcome. After carving these shapes, I found their intended application was not appealing. However, I believe these small carved objects were made manifest as they symbolised a visual impairment in the vision I originally had. Making these objects allowed me to remove the impairment from my mind's eyeball, which cleared the path to access a simplistic and far more appealing outcome. Rather than discarding the small objects, I thought it would be appropriate to acknowledge this portion of the build. So I incorporated the carvings as a record that represents a segment of the journey I went through while making Oculus. I located a discrete position and attached them, essentially encoding this part of the story into the finished piece. Originally, the final revealing and stylized shots of Oculus were intentional. Rather than a fully undressed and exposed piece of furniture that reveals all, I chose a measured and deliberate sequence designed to give the viewer a tasteful yet satiating sense of the final piece, simultaneously resisting the temptation to overindulge. I have now re-evaluated my position. As a result of this self-reflection, I have curated a revealing sequence that hopefully gives the curious observer's appetite for visual sustenance a satiating viewing experience. So sit back and enjoy. That's it for this expose. I hope it gave you a greater perspective on what I was attempting with this design. Ultimately, I'm very pleased with what I was able to achieve. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.